Mentally and physically, success could be defined as getting up one more time after you've been knocked down over and over and over again. I'm T.Wood, and this is Triumphant Moments, where I highlight significant moments in life that are beyond the surface to inform, encourage, and inspire people to triumph over their life's challenges. With me today, I said, with me today, I have none other than Mr. Bernard Kinsey. He is a philanthropist, entrepreneur, retired Xerox executive, and expert in the field of urban revitalization and economic development. He is originally from West Palm Beach, Florida. He is a graduate of the Florida A&M University and Pepperdine University. He and his wife, Shirley, have a passion for African-American history and art, and are creators of the world-renowned Kinsey African-American Art and History Collection and Foundation. He resides in Los Angeles. Together, he and his wife have one son. There is a plethora of things that I could talk about or enlighten as far as the successes he's had here. But for me, T.Wood, one of the greatest things that stands out about Brother Kinsey is his heart and his desire to help people in general. It means a lot. Welcome, 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 Brother Kinsey. How are you?
Fine, T.Wood. It's good to be with you. Yeah, the reality is you just have to keep working at things. We worked on this for almost 45 minutes. I have a saying, there's no such thing as quitting. It's just giving up. So, persistence is one of my attributes that I really hope that your listeners will think about, because without persistence, talent, goodwill will never work. So you just have to stay focused on, what you want. And what we found, if I want what I want more than you want me not getting it, I'll get mine. It's just that simple.
What would a normal daily routine look like for you? You got push-ups, sit-ups, meditation, yoga?
Well, I swim about a mile a day for the last, 25, 30 years. Wow. So right after I finish this, I'll go to the pool and do 80 or 100 laps. And I do that rain or shine. And it's if you don't take care of your physical self, your mental and emotional and spiritual self won't have enough energy to be able to play the game. We all need energy to play this game called living in life. And you only get that by feeling good and having a resolve about taking care of you first, then the people you love, then your friends, and then your community, in that order. And if you get that out of phase, you frankly won't have enough energy to be able to do the really heavy lifting that being alive in America. And we have a saying, what we want people, and I really think that particularly Black folks have to develop the idea of two concepts. One is to resist and another is to expect. Our 18th, 19th century brothers and sisters that were enslaved in America, we don't use the word slave. Anytime you see the word slave, you say enslaved. So the idea really is to pattern ourselves after our ancestors that did so much with so little. So the idea of resisting this racism, this voter suppression, this idea that color is the only thing that matters in this country. We have a saying that your skin speaks before you do. And it's true, because the darker you are in America, the more difficult it is. Mm-hmm. So what we have to do is not say, ain't it awful? What we have to say is, what am I going to do about it? So the whole idea about this journey that we all take, and we all have to take it, and if we have a saying, if you start behind in the race of life, you just have to run faster than the other people. Okay? It's just that simple. So this notion about ain't it awful, and y'all don't like me, and black people have been treated poorly. You know what? All of it's true. But racism is like rain. It's either gathering or falling on you. So I say, get you an umbrella. And when you get an umbrella, you can play the game. Because the game is really about living a good life, not about fighting people for your, manhood or dignity and all the things I hear people talk about. So the idea of our ancestors is to resist every aspect of American life that does not respect the African-American story and experience. And the second part is expectancy. Expectancy is where each of us land as it relates to having a good life, to having a good family, having a good community. And without both of those, you're never going to have the kind of life that all of us ask for. So what makes being, we say being black is like having a second job. And it is to a large degree. And the reality is, it's true, which means you have to sharpen your skills. You have to be more focused. You have to be more persistent and more determined to reach your goals. And we have a saying, if you allow somebody to tell you what kind of life you're going to have, let me tell you what they have planned for you. Not much.
Ooh.
Okay. So if you don't accept the fact that it's your responsibility to live in the present about what you want to do with your life, shame on you.
Brother Kinsey, I wanted to connect this with you. Now, you grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida, as a fellow Floridian. Okay, right. I wanted to get an idea of what it was like in your household, in your upbringing. Siblings. Like, how would you describe your upbringing in your
brothers and sisters. My dad, Florida A&M. My mom, Florida A&M. My mom played in the band in 1939. So when I played in the band in 1961, it was just part of, the induction. My brother went to FAMU. I had all of my sisters, with the exception of one, went to black colleges, Howard, Tennessee State, West Virginia. So we come from a second generation family, which was somewhat unusual, in the Black South. I was born, I'm 78, so 1943. But my dad graduated, got a master's, a principal for 39 years at West Palm Beach. Ooh. And there's a school named after him, the UB Kinsey a School of Art, Magnet in Arts in West Palm Beach. And he and my mom married 63 years before he passed. So I really was lucky in a lot of respects, but we came out of a very segregated environment in West Palm Beach, but it was a great way to grow up. I mean, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles and nieces, nephews, cousins that all lived close to each other in this segregated world.
It was like a village that, you could.
Oh, yeah, it was a village. We may have not called that until now, but yeah, it was our village. And where black businesses were strong. My grandfather owned Kinsey Groceries down on Rosemary, which was the main drag. And it was a very popular grocery store that sold some of the best meats in Palm Beach County. So I did not grow up poor. I grew up very middle class. My dad, mom, my mom was probably the most frugal person I've ever met. And the frugality that she had, she taught that to me. And frankly, I'm very frugal to this day. And I tell people all the time, if you want a good life, you better be frugal. In other words, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So the idea is, if you don't put aside something from every paycheck, shame on you, because you need more than a rainy day fund. You need a sunny day fund. I retired at 47, 31 years ago.
That's what I'm talking about. Come on.
And people, the way Shirley and I live is what people dream about. And the idea really is, nobody gave us anything. I never will forget 1967 when we moved to California with $26 and a job.
Come on.
I called my dad. I said, Dad, I need to buy a car. I need $250 or $350. I forgot what it was. And you know what my daddy told me? He said, Bernard, I don't buy cars. He said, you're grown by it yourself. So I bought a 1961 Dodge Lancer with no air conditioning, no heat, no anything. It was just a motor in a car. And paid $250. I borrowed $250 from my employer because my job was in Orange County. I lived in LA. Didn't know that because, you know, I just didn't know it. Right. But my homeboy, John Clayton, who one of my closest friends, his mother taught me in the 2nd grade and his mother worked at my dad's school. That's the kind of connection that West Palm Beach had. But this was typical in most Black communities all over the South. It was nothing really, it was exceptional, but it was pretty normal from a Black community standpoint. So when I buy this car, we named the car Lizzie.
What's that name again?
Lizzie. It was a lime green 1961 Dodge Lancer with the push button on the side. Just, I mean, it was just a car. But it really informed me because most of my friends were buying new cars, which is what I wanted my dad to loan me money to buy.
Right.
And it turned out that was the best thing that he did would not give me the money to buy a new car.
We, in the times, at least I can say that I know I've grown up in, we kind of call it the times of the bling bling. So it's the flashy cars, the clothes, you know, to kind of show a certain type of lifestyle. So I just had to interject because you're really hitting on something that I really want our listeners, you know, to know. What is your feelings toward the bling bling, you know, the extra nice cars, as far as when you're coming up to be what exactly you want, what it is that you want to be? What is your feelings towards that?
It's a car is probably one of the worst investments you can make.
Come on.
So in 1971, after we bought our house, we bought a brand new Mercedes. And that was before Mercedes were even, people didn't even know what the heck it was. But we kept that car 20 years. And we kept all of our cars 15 to 20 years. Even today, I got a 1995 Mercedes I'm looking at right now that got 58,000 miles on it. So the idea really is not, you know, Shirley and I felt that instead of following the Joneses, we would create our own model.
Tell them.
And it turned out that, you know, people resonate with the idea of a couple working together. And I just can't tell you what having a partner like Shirley means, because for the first 15 years of our marriage, she didn't spend a paycheck. So we took the first 15 years of her earnings, all my bonuses, all of my raises, and we put it into property. So you don't want to own poverty, you want to own property. And once we began to own apartment buildings, commercial buildings, houses, the world changed in terms of our ability to control and dictate our lives. And we didn't take long to realize that, you know, we could get out of this working for someone. I realized a long time ago that Xerox was never going to be Xerox and Sons or Xerox and Kinsey. And when I figured that out, even after 10 years as a vice president at Xerox, I realized that I wanted to do more with my life. And I wanted to, first of all, have a lot more control over my life.
Right.
And that's exactly what we've done.
So I wanted to pull this from you. Could you please think of something that stands out to you that you personally, you know, for you, that you had to overcome in your life? What's something that in your life, in your time, that may have been very difficult to go through, or even if you found a way to cope with it, happened, you still found a way to cope with it? What would that be?
The first job I got, I was the first Black park ranger in Grand Canyon. And that was difficult because myself and my best friend, Nick Walker, also of FAMU, we were hired to integrate the park system. And we had a supervisor from Natchez, Mississippi. I'll never forget this guy. His name Taylor. And being I think I was 21, but I had never seen white people really in a real serious way. Never been on an airplane, never saw a mountain. I had not, I was a country boy out of West Palm Beach, with a FAMU degree, and was put into the situation where, this guy did not want us there. The idea was, they may have hired you, but I'm going to fire you. So we, for the first 10, 12 weeks, we really had a tough deal going because he was just mean to a fault. But my mom used to tell me, if someone gives you a lemon, you make lemonade out of it. And you don't let people deter you from what you're trying to do. So what he did was he put us on the night shift, the midnight shift. So that meant, in Grand Canyon, the Park Service is like the police. So American Indians that lived there didn't like the Park Service people. So they didn't like us either because we were, represented that. And then all the whites there, that's all it was, didn't like us because we were black. So we really did not have a lot of room to feel comfortable. But what we decided was, and it's the best thing I think we've done. We said, you know what? So we will work at night and then we'll explore Grand Canyon Park in the daytime. And that's what we did. I mean, we hiked down to Phantom Ranch. We did the East Rim, Kaibab Trail. I mean, fell in love with this part of America that I had first time I've ever seen, this kind of landscape and geology.
Right.
And that informed me in a way that was just really even now. So Shirley and I have essentially gone to every national park west of the Mississippi. So what I tell Black people particularly, but white people too, one of the best vacations you could take is to a national park. And one of the cheapest vacations you could take is to a national park. So what we have to do is think about other ways to inform ourselves and to bring our kids up into environments that they will learn what discovery is all about. I remember my 8th grade teacher, Mr. McDonald, who I remember him to this day. He was our geography teacher, and he would sit us down with this book and take us all over the world. And I remember, like it was yesterday, I saw a picture of the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. And I said then to myself, not knowing it subconsciously, that I wanted to go to that place. Literally, the very first trip we took to Europe in 1977, we find ourselves checking into a hotel in Athens, Greece, and guess what's right outside our window?
Come on, Brother Kinsey.
The Parthenon. So I'm a big believer in visualization, internalizing that, and then going to work to be able to make it happen.
Brother Kinsey, could you say that part again, please? Please
I'm
repeat
a big believer in visualization. In other words, when you see something and visualize it, then internalize that. Tuck it away. Don't tell anybody about it. Because if you tell people about your dreams, your mind thinks you've already done it and you won't keep going after it. So you have to be careful about sharing your dreams, because oftentimes you share your mind says, oh, you've already accomplished it. So you don't have that internal drive. So I keep these things to myself,
right?
But I start working on. So one of the things that Shirley and I have, which I love about our relationship, is that we see the future the same way.
Mm.
If you don't, I'll give you an example. 2 of our close friends out of Florida A&M, moving to California. Matter of fact, I got Tom a job, and in LA, and they drove out, and I told him about Grand Canyon, and he said, I'm going to go see it. So they came out and went to Grand Canyon. He looked at it and he was talking about how beautiful it was and how wonderful. And his wife said, it's just a big hole. And I told him, a big hole. And I knew right then that marriage wasn't going to work, and it didn't. And we have countless other situations where it happened. And it's not that either one was right or wrong. It's just if I see something that I think is beautiful and you think is ugly, how in the heck you think we're going to ever be able to make that work?
That what you just described. When did you realize that y'all, like, she had her perception of things actually complemented or matched you? Like, what point was this in college that you realized that?
In college, sure, because Shirley came from, a very poor is probably not the right word, but she lived on a dirt road in a shotgun house with her grandmother, and basically lived on Social Security, and came to Florida A&M with a scholarship, basically. So she had a different upbringing than I had, where I came out of a very upper middle income family in West Palm Beach, but it was, her values were so grounded because of living with her grandmother. And, I knew immediately that she had all the right stuff, and she was frugal also, which I like a lot. I mean, because I think we would not have worked well for her being somebody that always want things, and there's some marriages that all they want to do is just spend money, and, it's just, it's not the way, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. There are three things you need for a successful life. Let me drop this nugget on you. You need, one is someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. Someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. Those three predicates are so simple, they are incredibly difficult to live. And in 1980, we were in Kathmandu, Nepal. We went there to see Mount Everest. Okay. And it was a Buddhist monk that said that to us. And I had pen and paper. And I tell everybody you should always have pen and paper. Right here. You just don't know when you're going to get this nugget or jewel that's going to change your life. So I took these three principles, and I've been wrestling with them for 40 years. I think I got them, but it's still complicated. Okay. Someone to love, which is Shirley, something to do. That something to do is always maybe changing from when I started 40 years ago to what we do now. Right. And then something to look forward to. And I've learned over the last 42 years with this concept that the last one is probably even more important than any of them, because I saw on my dad's deathbed that he said, Bernard, if this is what it's going to be, I don't want to do it. In other words, he couldn't eat what he wanted to do. He had no mobility, all those kind of things. And so he decided that was not the kind of life he wanted to do, because there was nothing he could look forward to. So the other way to think about it, to go back to the dream statement, if you have something to look forward to, you internalize that, right? It's amazing what you can do with your life.
What is some additional encouragement for free right now that you can provide to all of the listeners and the followers?
The key thing is resistance and expectancy. You have to expect that you're going to have a better life. Then you have to do the things and prepare yourself to have that better life. And your plan has to be your plan. And you cannot expect anybody else to help you with your plan, because they have their plan to work on. There's a statistic that only 3% of the people in America write down their goals. And almost 90-some% of people never reach them because they don't write them down. So they're always, making New Year resolutions for whatever. And those resolutions really have no meaning because you haven't followed through on those in terms of steps that you're going to begin first day, second day, until you have interim success, mid to long range, and then long range success. And it's really on us to have the life we want to live, man. James Baldwin has a saying, I hope I can remember it. Basically, we live the lives we live because of how we work and live each day. And that life really is determinant how we live that life is what kind of life we end up having. In other words, if you live a dishonest or dishonorable life, you're always shirking responsibility and not expecting, you're not going to have much. You follow me? We have a saying, if you want to have, look, small dreams, small problems, small successes. I want you to have large dreams, large problems, and large successes. Because if you don't figure out how to problem solve, you're not going to do well in this world. So if you have ideas of making, an impact, and I'm not talking about money being the only determinant, but I'm talking about when you accomplish goals, you provide the energy to be able to get up every day to accomplish more goals. And when you don't accomplish goals, it takes away your energy in your ability to be able to accomplish your goals. In other words, it's a net negative when you keep things unfulfilled or unfinished. So what you have to do is complete tasks. If you start completing little tasks, then midterm tasks come up, then long-term tasks become a lot easier.
I appreciate you. Just as I'll tell everybody, to all the listeners and all the followers, sometimes in life you must fail in order to succeed. But one thing must remain certain: under no circumstances do you ever give up.
I agree.
This is T.Wood. I'm with Brother Kinsey, Brother Bernard Kinsey. Thank you, brother.
All right. Take care.